they charged me with a firearm that I never possessed, but what they were looking to do is just basically get me off the streets. So I was selling a lot of drugs and stuff like that. It just became a part of my life. It became something that I just couldn't do without. I don't want to wait a whole year for the money that he makes in 1 or 2 days. So when they brought me in, the gun that I got charged with, that I did the whole 10 years for, was already in there. So me and him got into like a big argument over that, because he was like calling me all kind of knuckleheads and stupid and stuff like that. I got the counselor telling me, oh, you got to put in applications to Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, Burger King. So I'm like, nah, I'm not doing it. I'm Rickey, the cut creator Burton. I don't serve burgers or none of that shit. When you hear the story, you're going to see why everything was so shocking to me.
We're here for the introduction of In and Out. It's a movement to change the world. It represents all things and all of us at all times. It's about freeing ourselves of any prison. Welcome to In and Out Podcast, where I have dope conversations with incredible people who have been freed from some form of prison. I am Eric Geralt, your host, and today I'm talking with my guest, Rickey, the cut creator Burton, and he takes us along his incredible journey of overcoming hardship, pain, grief, and takes us on that journey of success. What's happening, Rickey? How you doing today?
What's going on, my brother? It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it. Your platform is amazing, and the opportunity to be here, that's just a blessing in itself.
No doubt, no doubt. And thank you for coming on. I want to definitely thank you for taking the opportunity to come here, join us, share your story, and share your story for the purpose of making an impact on others. You never know who's out there. We were just talking about that, who's listening, where you can make a positive impact based on what you've been through. I want to give you this opportunity to introduce yourself and tell us a little about what you're doing, and then we'll get into this conversation.
Well, I'm Rickey, the cut creator Burton, president and CEO of Naturally Cut Fitness, the founder of the Naturally Cut Experience, one of the top personal trainers in the tri-state area. I've been that for a while. What we have going on is basically right now, my focus is community-based, and making an impact, a lasting impact, or impact that's going to last long enough that it can touch as many lives as possible, right? So we have a program, I have a program called the Naturally Cut Experience, where we skills train, strength train, and give recovery to all inner city athletes. So the same way LeBron James would, or Kevin Durant would get their training and their recovery, we offer that to inner city kids in order just to provide them with a blueprint to be as successful as anybody else in the world. And this year, we're also adding financial literacy and life skills.
Wow, that's dope. That's dope. How long you been doing that for?
We've been doing it going on 4 years, 3.5. In March, it'll be 4 years. Okay,
so from the beginning, how did you get into that? Have you been into fitness your whole life, or how did you get into the idea to be helping inner city youths?
Well, it started with fitness and me training myself. And I got into fitness while I was incarcerated. So back in 2004, I got incarcerated for, the charge was 922G. It's a federal crime. So I was actually incarcerated for a gun that I never possessed. So 922G is just the federal government's way of saying felon in possession of a firearm. So they charged me with a firearm that I never possessed, but what they were looking to do is just basically get me off the streets. Because I was into the streets, I was selling a lot of drugs and stuff like that, and things like that. So I guess that was their way of getting me off the streets. As wrong as it may be, it ultimately fueled my passion for fitness. So when I initially got arrested and sent to jail and then prison, it started out for me as a way to be able to defend myself. Everybody in there is in shape. Everybody is, working out. Even the most not in shape person in there is more in shape than the most not in shape person out here. You understand? And people don't understand that. So I just wanted to make sure I could keep up. you know, and I've always viewed myself as boss, a leader. So I realized in there, the leaders are very powerful. The leaders do things a certain way. The leaders, they're getting up, they're working out, they read a lot, they're very intelligent, things like that. So I was already very intelligent. I already read a lot. So in order to give myself an even playing field, I had to begin working out. So as it started as just a way to be able to protect myself or be able to make the playing field even, I fell in love with it. I ended up falling in love with fitness, not just exercise, the whole aspect of it, the human body aspect of it, the scientific aspect of it, the medical aspect of it. And it just became a part of my life. It became something that I just couldn't do without.
Okay. And now you're taking it to the next level. So I want to know about like way back in the beginning though, like, because I know you mentioned that you was already selling drugs. I sold drugs before too. I did time at federal time. That's why we're doing this podcast, honestly, because I wanted to be able to provide help to people through my experiences the same way you're doing. But what was your background growing up? What type of neighborhood did you grow up in? Who were you raised by? What were the things that you was doing as a kid? Some of the influences that you saw that ended up making you, choose. Well, maybe the streets chose you. That's what I want to know about.
Well, ultimately, I grew up in a very amazing household. My household was very spiritual and religious. They went to church every Sunday. They were pillars of the church in the community, as a matter of fact. So that was my life growing up. From the time I was born till about 15, 16 years old. We'll get to that. But my younger elementary and junior high school years were spent in the church, going to church, back and forth on the church van. My family are pastors, ministers, deacons, ushers. They got vacation Bible school. They going to church for choir practice on Wednesday. Every day is something to do at the church. That's how I grew up, right? But I grew up like that inside Flatbush, Brooklyn. So one of the roughest neighborhoods, if not the roughest neighborhood at my time growing up, and for me, it was the streets didn't choose me. I chose the street. And I say that because, like, I guess a lot of other people, I didn't really have to go to the streets. I could ask my mother or my aunt or my grandmother or my uncles. My father wasn't in my life, but I could ask any one of them for money at any given time, right? That wasn't I was very ambitious. That wasn't my thing. I didn't want to depend on people and keep asking people for stuff. I wanted to go get my own, right? So from a young age, growing up in that neighborhood, it's almost like you see the drug dealers, right? They out there, the big time drug dealers. They got a lot of money. They have the cars. They have the women. They never really have too many problems. Not the type of problems that I had going on in my household where they're working paycheck to paycheck. Sometimes they don't have it. We don't even have a car. You understand what I'm saying? My stepfather had a car, but we didn't have a car. So you see stuff like that, and as a youngin', you're very impressionable, right? So now you have to make a choice. Am I going to go the 9 to 5 route and be working paycheck to paycheck and always complaining that my boss is doing this to me and having me work these hours and I'm working so many hours and I don't have any money? Or can I choose this guy that every time I open my door and step outside, whether it's to play basketball, football, whatever, I see this guy. I see him with his nice car. He has a whole different car today. He has all the females. Every time I go in front of the store, he gives us all money. So he never's at a shortage for money. At that age, it only makes sense to go that route, right? Because I want to have money. I want to make so much money in 2 or 3 days that my family is waiting to make for a whole year. I don't want to wait a whole year for the money that he makes in 1 or 2 days. Why? When it's right here in my face and I can learn from him and people like him in my neighborhood, So my upbringing was that. And once I kind of fell victim to the streets, I started dealing with gang life, you know. So I'm one of the founders of the Crips in New York, and it's 5 of us. You know, I'm the only one out here right now. Um, and once I went that route, it was like that route, but I was kind of like straddling the fence because I was also a very good basketball player in New York City, right? So now I'm a very good basketball player. I'm going to school. I'm going getting good grades because I went to a prestigious high school for basketball called LaSalle Academy. People like Shamgar Wells, Ron Artest. I guess now y'all call him Meta World Peace. You know,
Right.
people like that went to
Yeah,
my
he's from
school.
Queens.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, he from Left Rack, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember
yeah,
correctly, right?
yeah, yeah.
So I went to that school and I'm playing with people like that. But when I leave school and leave basketball, I'm in the streets with my friends in my neighborhood. And you know, ultimately that kind of like led me to getting kicked out of college. I must fast forward a little bit to college because you know I did the gang banging thing, the street thing. I wasn't really selling drugs back then as a teenager. You know, I'm from Brooklyn, so we were robbing. You know, I grew up learning how to rob. You know, and didn't really know too much about hustling. I knew how to let the hustlers get theirs, and then I come take it from them.
So y'all would rob the drug dealers.
Yes, we would rob the drug dealers, the drug spots, like stuff like that. We'll watch you all day on the corner, and when your shift is over, we coming for that. You know, stuff like that. Stuff like that. To me, that was easier, and we didn't really have to deal with the police because you're not gonna go tell the police I just robbed you of your drugs. You understand what I'm saying? To me, that made more sense. The same thing with the drug spots. Like we could rob a whole drug spot. Police are not gonna get involved because what are you gonna say we took from you? You understand what I'm saying? So stuff like that seemed like a safe bet to me. But things like that is what ultimately led me to getting kicked out of college because I had a basketball scholarship to college. I was at first Syracuse University, then yeah, that was high school. That was high school. That was definitely high school, and that was actually my second high school because I went to A. Philip Randolph Campus High School first, which is the high school that they filmed the movie Juice in. So the movie Juice with Tupac. I went there for 9th and 10th grade, uptown on 137th and Convent Avenue in Harlem. I ultimately got kicked out of there in the 10th grade for a big Brooklyn Harlem type fight, and you know they kicked a lot of us out. My mother said, "I'm not dealing with this anymore. I'm sending you to Catholic school now." So that's when I started playing basketball and taking basketball serious, and that's kind of like when I got away from hanging uptown and stuff like that. I was more serious about basketball in the streets. That's it.
Hey Ricky, I guess that's what they did in New York because so I got kicked out of I got kicked out of a school and my parents sent me to Catholic school. I was at Catholic school in Queens. I don't even remember the name. St. Kevin's. But I got kicked out of St. Kevin's. I got kicked out of PS 203, which is in Queens, which was right near Cardozo. Then I went to 162. I went to 162. I got kicked out of there for fighting with someone. I stitched his eye up. Then they sent me to St. Kevin's. I got kicked out of St. Kevin's for they said I started like a race riot. But really it was just me just really defending myself, and people was talking to me and using racial slurs and nigga this and nigga that. And then I had family in Hollis and family. So everybody, all of the blacks from the various parts, yeah, they came up to St. Kevin's and it was a big thing and then I was kicked out of there. But it just stuck with me because you said your parents sent you to Catholic school and you got kicked out of school.
They said, we're not dealing with this anymore. You're going to Catholic school.
As if that was going to make it right.
Yeah, it didn't. I just, all that ended up happening is I turned LaSalle Academy out, all the way out. I turned it out, all the way out. And we were dealing with not regular teachers, but brothers. So they wore like the robes and stuff like that. Those were our teachers. Like they lived in like right next door to us to that church or whatever it was called. They lived there. So like, that's what we were dealing with. And yeah, I went there and turned them out for the next 2 years.
So you moved on from LaSalle, and then you went to college.
Right. So in college, I ultimately ended up getting into a big fight with another recruit from Chicago. And in college, you know, they're like no tolerance. So it wasn't even really any investigation into it, who started it, nothing. Everybody involved, they just kicked him out. So me, him, and one of the assistant coaches ended up getting kicked out. So then I ended up going to Mercy College because I just went. Mercy College in Dobbs Ferry, New York. Dobbs Ferry, New York, like right outside of Bronx.
Okay, got you. I know you were raised. You said you was raised by your aunt, your grandmother. You said you was raised your mom, and then also uncles. Your father wasn't in your life. Were you close with your uncles? Because what I'm wondering is, and I think it's the obvious answer. Did your uncles have a strong influence on you? And if so, I guess the male figure, like you said, the dude on the street, the drug dealer on the street, was that the strongest male influence in your life at that part of the town? And for that reason, was I guess he was more impressionable on you?
Right. So what it was for me is my uncles played a pivotal role in our life and our upbringing and raising us into the men that we are. Because I have 3 other brothers and a sister. So and they did play a pivotal role, but after a while, once I got to about 15 or 16 years of age, I started kind of like, as my grandmother says, smelling myself. They really couldn't tell me too much. I was always ready to go at it with them, physically. Like I was ready to go. Like,
your uncles.
Yeah, I respect what you're saying, but I'm gonna do what I want. You know?
You growing into manhood.
Right. So it was really my aunts that laid the law down and stuff like that. But I'm not gonna say that the drug dealer on the street that we saw every day was the strongest man in my life, because my uncles are strong. They instilled some real strong morals, principles, and values into us.
West Indian background, right? Did I see that?
Exactly. St. Thomas, Antigua, and Jamaica. So principles, morals, and values that I still stand on to this day. But what I'm gonna say is that the drug dealer on the corner, he was more, like you said, he had more of an impression on me as far as what I thought would make life easy moving forward. As far as how America depicts life, what you're supposed to have, the house, the car, the this, the that. So if I want all that, I gotta have money, right? So yeah, that was the reason why I gravitated towards the drug dealer on the corner. Not necessarily that he was the strongest, but he had the most going on. He could do whatever he wanted to do. He could hop on a plane. He could do this. He didn't have to wait for his check to spend money. Spend money whenever he want, you know. And kids see that, you know, and that does have a lasting impression on a kid, on a child, on a youth, on a teenager, you know, on a young man.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And it's a conflict, right? Because like our parents, I mean, our generation, our parents, and even today, you know, parents and probably us for our children, like the society that we live in, like you say, it constantly pushes we want and want and want and want. And even when we have, we want and want and want, and we want more and more and more. So when our parents is working hard and getting a regular paycheck, at least that's how it was for me. Sounds like it was like that for you. It sounds like that's a lot of people, a lot of young men, especially that get caught up, you know, in criminal or illicit activity and end up getting themselves in trouble. Is because of desire to just continue to like want more. And when we see these things in front of our eyes and the people on the street, it seems like they're giving us an opportunity. It's seemingly an opportunity, you know, to teach us how to get that instant gratification or to be able to make that money without working that 9 to 5.
Or without, it's not even the 9 to 5. It's just, I think, like you said, the instant gratification. They want it right now. And I think a lot of people don't want to work hard.
Right.
They trying to skip that step, and what I've come to realize is you can't. It's certain when aspiring for certain things, or when reaching for certain things as far as goals and dreams, certain steps you just can't skip.
Right. You got to go through the process.
Yes.
No doubt. So you did a couple years in college. When did you end up getting into the drug game?
Almost right away, because I had a situation where right before I left for Mercy College, one of my brothers got killed, and with street gang violence, and so that kind of like for the next like 2-3 years sent me on a spiraling path as far as I didn't really care anymore. I'm gonna do what I want for real, and I'm gonna go where I want. And I left New York and really never came back after that.
Where'd you go?
Well, first I went to Rhode Island. One of my brothers, he was enrolled at Johnson & Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island. So went out there, got an apartment and a house, and I just used to stay out there because he was in school there. A couple of his friends that were from around our neighborhood went to school there, so I was out there with them, and then I was just out there. Basically, that was a point in my life where I was just out there trying to figure things out. You know, I wasn't even really hustling at the time. We were getting money though, because once again we were kicking them doors in. So we'd get the bag, and it'll last us for a while, and then we had to kick another door in, to get another bag, and that's how it was going for them first couple of years after my brother Jermaine was killed.
Got you. So a few years after that, you was in the drug game, leading up to So once you got into the drug game, how did that? Did you ever get incarcerated for drugs, or you got locked up in court of charge but didn't have to do time? Or because I'm asking that question because of the 922G, possession of a firearm by in the commission of a felony, or was it possession of a firearm by a felon? 922G is in the commission of a felony, or was it by a felon?
By a felon.
Okay, so it wasn't in the commission of a felony.
No.
Okay.
So smart man too. You know your stuff.
I did 6.5 years in federal prison. They gave me 12.5, and so I got educated in I was in federal prison, so I know all of that stuff. That's how I ended up getting out. I ended up getting out by fighting. I went to trial, lost, fought my own case. I lost on direct appeal, but then I eventually got out on a 2255, ineffective assistance to counsel. Immediate release.
Congrats to that, number one. But yeah, I was previously before then, probably like 3 years before 2004. They locked me up for like a controlled sale or whatever the case may be. I had never been locked up for anything like that, so I can't even remember. But yeah, I went upstate. I went to Ulster, Auburn. I went to Willard, got kicked out, and then finished my time in Auburn. So yeah, I was there first.
Okay, I was curious, and especially like for people that's listening is good, because the audience, like a lot of times people don't understand. Like you might have a felony, or you might plead out to probation, or supervised release, or whatever it may be, but they don't understand that they got escalating. Like if you catch another felony down the line, then they got escalating ways to really stretch you out and really give you a lot of time, like they did to you. And I'm sure you're gonna get into it because I'm gonna ask you, but. Yeah, so tell us about that, because the 922G, I know I was in there with a lot of people that did a lot of time with the 922G, and they was like, yo, I never even had a pistol. Like it was a conspiracy, and somebody testified that they seen me with a pistol, but they never found one. There was never one recovered, but they still getting a boatload of time. Because it doubles the mandatory minimum, correct?
Yes, that was definitely my mandatory minimum. So that's what actually made me go to trial. Because once I found that out, I was like, all right, since that's the mandatory minimum, let's go. Let's rock and roll. But how everything started was, once I went to trial, I found out that they had me under investigation twice, stuff like that. Stuff I didn't even know until I went to trial.
Everything comes out when you go to trial.
When you hear the story, you're going to see why everything was so shocking to me. Because before all that, before I actually went to trial, how everything started was, like I said, they had me on the investigation. They couldn't penetrate. verbatim, according to them, through at the trial. They couldn't penetrate or whatever the case may be. So one day they locked me up and asked me for like a bunch of questions, right, that I did not have the answers to. And even if I did have the answers to them, that's not my job to give you those answers. That's not my job. I do not get a salary from y'all department. I do not get a salary from you. And furthermore, I wouldn't even work for this department. So, like, it went back and forth. Oh, tell us this. What about this person? Where's this buried at? And this and that and that. And I don't know. So like they basically what it was about is, hey, you want to be a tough guy? We're gonna charge you with that gun. So when they brought me in, the gun that I got charged with, that I did the whole 10 years for, was already in there. It was on the table. I didn't even know what kind of gun it was. That's a fact. I didn't even know what type of gun it was. So that's what led me not to really take it too seriously in the beginning, because I'm thinking like, they can't charge me with a gun that was already in. Like this is that's shit they do on TV. That's not about to happen to me.
But the shit that they do on TV is the shit that they do in real life.
Exactly, and that's what people fail to read. Yeah, I found out the hard way, because it was almost so hilarious when I tell people I thought I was on the show Punk at first. Like, and this is real talk. I thought that's what I thought they were gonna come busting in and like, you've been punked or whatever the case. Because I'm like, there's no way the gun was already here. So there's no way they're gonna make me do time for that gun. So I go to trial in the state. I beat it in the state. So I was on parole. While I was on parole, now that I beat it in the state, they put the hold on me. So now I got to go up north and do time served 90. So I only had 30 days left to do and come home. So that was on a Tuesday. That very next Tuesday, they opened my cell. So they like, you got to go to court. So I'm like, no, I don't. I beat it last week. I'm good. I'm waiting for parole.
You thinking there can't be no double jeopardy?
Right. So I'm like, nah, I don't got to go to court. I closed my cell. They opened my cell back like, man, this guy's waiting for you downstairs. You need to get dressed. But when I go downstairs, you see the nice dressed officers. You know how the marshals dress all nice and stuff. And I'm looking like, like, what the hell is going on? So they're telling me, yeah, we're charging you with 922G, felon in possession of a firearm. So I'm like, nah, I just beat that last week in the state. They're like, yeah, this is a different jurisdiction. Yeah, and we're picking it up again. And he told me right there, walking me to the car, he was like, and you're not beat. Like, you're not about to beat us. You beat them. He told me they're fools. We're not. Straight up. And they took me down. Yeah, they were dead serious. They were so dead serious. One of their names was Howard Stern. Yeah, Officer Howard Stern. Word. That's why I thought a lot of it was a joke at first, because of stuff like that, like Marshall Howard Stern. So I'm like, oh, the only Howard Stern I know is dude from TV. I be doing all the crazy shit. But yeah, they made it stick. They put me in Valhalla. That's where I went first. White Plains County Jail, and then from there they shipped me to MDC Brooklyn, where they got Puff right now. So that's where they shipped me. And then from there, I was sent to my initial institution, and that's when my actual bid started. Blue trial with no evidence. We had forensic experts. We had all kind of experts. Everybody testified that no fingerprints on the magazines, on the bullets, on the gun. Shows no proof that I ever handled the gun. All this is in trial, and I still blew. So that's when this journey started. Yeah, they had 5 testifying witnesses. 2 of them were key witnesses, and the 2 key witnesses testified like they knew me and I didn't know them. So that let me know that the feds coached them, because they said stuff like my middle name, nobody. You understand what I'm saying? Like, they knew stuff about me that nobody knows about me. So that means that they had to have been coached prior to going to trial to testify against.
Right. Now, 3 of the people you did know.
Yeah, from seeing them around the town, because we were in a little town upstate New York called Poughkeepsie, New York. So I was in Dutchess County. Yeah, I was in Dutchess County, so I had it sewn up in Dutchess County, Orange County, all those little areas, Fishkill, Wappinger Falls, Newburgh, Beacon, all those places up there, So that's where I was. That's where everything started as far as the federal case.
Wow. And the other 3 people, well, I guess all 5 people was really just probably trying to somehow get a reduction in their sentence, whatever charge they caught.
Right. So I come to find out that the head snitch named Kenneth Pattyfoot, Kenneth Pattyfoot III, he had got caught with a 40 caliber gun on his person and a half a brick in a book bag. He was on a bike. So he gets caught with something. I get caught with nothing. But I guess what I'm doing out there makes them more nervous than what he's doing out there. So they need to get rid of me. And even though he got caught with a 40 caliber gun on his person and a half a brick in a book bag, he gets to get right back out. As soon as trial was over, he was out. My trial was in December. He was in the clubs on New Year's on the 1st.
Right. Yeah, well, he was willing to tell,
Yeah. Yeah.
If he was willing to tell you, you know how that goes.
Yeah. But stuff like that taught me a huge lesson. And it's more than just like watch who you talk around. People throw stuff like that. Watch who you talk around, watch your friends. Like, nah, it was a little bigger than that. Like, for me, it was more so like, right, you never possessed the gun and they're lying on you and stuff like that. But if you wasn't out there hustling, you wouldn't even be in this situation. You understand? Like, a lot of people don't like to really break it down and self-reflect and really like chastise themselves, but I do.
So when you going through that whole process, blowing trial, going to prison, it sounds like you immediately started like, well, tell me, how long was that process for you going through that, like that self-reflection and understanding that, is you got to take a look at yourself. And yeah, the system might be fucked up. It is. System might be unfair. System is geared towards minorities and poor people. But at the same time, you had to go through a whole transformation in your mindset. When did that happen? Like, was it the whole, and I'm sure, was it immediately into doing your time, or was it some time after you were doing your time? Was it as you were going through the trial? Tell me about that whole transformation of your mind.
Well, the transformation of my mind, you could say it was a whole journey. It was the whole process of it. Now, the transformation mentally didn't happen immediately because, I was still on warrior time. I was still on gladiator time. So that took a while to leave. But what ultimately helped it or expedited the process was the gentlemen that I chose to allow into my circumference while I was incarcerated, the knowledge and the books that I chose to feed my mind, right? Because once again, I'm in there, I'm a shot caller for New York and for the Crips. I'm one of the only Crips from the East Coast in the Crip call. So that's like unheard of. You was in there, so it's Crips in there, but not too many from New York. I'm a New York Crip, and I got the New York car, and I got the Crip car.
Right. Now, I did time in the South, just to be clear, but,
Okay. So, like, just to be clear, I was in, like, Hazleton, Lee County, Coleman, Macquarie, and then they sent me down to Williamsburg, and then I went home from Williamsburg.
You did time in Coleman in Florida?
Yeah, Coleman number 2.
Okay.
Yeah, all USPs. I was in a FCI initially, and then I got put out for a stabbing. So I was in Gilmore, West Virginia initially. Then I got put out for a stabbing.
Raised your security level.
Yeah, they and never lowered it back until my last 6 months. So, but that was cool with me. That was cool with me because I love the things that I learned on that level, in the USP level. You know what I mean? The things that I learned, the things that you had to be strong enough to go through and to see every day and to still be driven enough to build on your dreams day in and day out. So I love that. I love that. I wouldn't change it for the world at all.
Yo, I meet a lot of cats, or I've met a lot of cats, and some of the deepest cats that I know. It's funny that you say that. They was in USP. They either had life sentences or 30 years or whatever. They ended up getting it off of them and they down, but they speak to that because, you know, that type of experience just, you know, you just learn so much from that type of experience, you know, I could imagine. And these are some of like advisors to me, these dudes, but they all say the same thing. Like they hated it, but at the same time, the experience that they got from being in that USP, because I know you didn't left behind so many people that ain't never coming home. You home. They not coming home. They still there. And they was there before you got there.
Right. So one of my biggest mentors right now is doing 5 life sentences. He's doing 5 life sentences, and we working on him coming home, but he's still a mentor to me. His name is Tyrone T. Black Hunter. They call him Black, T. Black in the system. You know, he from East New York, Brooklyn, from back in the days with Tut and all them. You know, so that's his era. That's his crew. You know what I mean? Haitian Jack and all them. That's his crew. So
Supreme, I heard you mention Supreme. You already know that's my, you know, South Side. I know all them cats. Supreme and Prince, Carly, Fat Cat, all of them is, you know, is Queens.
yeah, he came to Lee County while I was at Lee County in Jonesville, Virginia. So he a cool dude. You know, he about that bread. He a businessman, a cool businessman. Yeah, he did that as soon as he got there. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. But yeah, so my whole time was spent there. So now it took a while before I really started buckling down and saying, look, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm making sure I'm coming home 100 times better than I came in. So in order to do that, these are the things I have to do. I have to address my physical, I have to address my mental, I have to address my spiritual. Why? Because as a human, we're only made up of 3 facets: mind, body, and soul. That's it. It's nothing else. Find something else, let me know. You know what I'm saying? Because it's only 3: mind, body, and soul. So now, if you want to be one of the strongest, or sharpest, I should say, human beings walking this earth, you have to equally sharpen all 3 facets. So your mind can't be stronger than, significantly stronger than your body. Your body can't be significantly stronger than your mind. And same thing with your spirituality in your mind, or your spirituality in your body. Everything has to be equally yoked, like a marriage.
So you got to have balance.
Right. Balance is the key. Balance is one of the most major parts of life. Balance and understanding. You know, a lot of people quote knowledge, wisdom, understanding. Understanding should be first, because knowledge and wisdom is nothing if you don't understand the knowledge I'm giving you. You know, but it took a while for me to come to grips with it, and certain people mentoring me, because I was wilding in there at first. You know, when in Rome, you do as the Romans do, and you know it's very political in there. So, and like I said, I was a shot caller, so I might not have gotten into anything. You might have, but now we got to come address it together. The whole car, you know how it goes. So, and there was a lot of that up in the USPs, and you know, it's not really too much fighting. It's a lot of knife play, you know. So, a lot of people not really doing too much fighting unless fight happens right away, right there. You know, once the 2 dudes or the crew of people walk away, when they come back, it's knife play now. You already know that. So, you know, it took me a while to get out of that mindset and realize, like, you gotta get civilized. You gotta civilize yourself. You understand? You gotta come out so sharp that corporate America doesn't know what to do. And that's when I started changing, like about 2010. And mind you, so all that time from 04 to 2010, I'm wild.
So you fell in 04?
Yeah, 2004.
Okay. I caught my case in 04. I fell in 05. I went to trial also. I'm a trial dude.
Okay, yeah, of course.
Ain't no question about it. And I never would have been able to get myself out if I didn't go to trial, because you know, you gotta, when you sign a plea, you gotta sign away your rights to be able to even, you know, get back in. So I'm just trying to look at the growth that you, so in 04 when you left, do you remember the first day in and how you felt? What was your mentality and your mindset? You was angry, or what was the deal?
The way I felt at first, like when I got sentenced, or the first day in at Gilmer, West Virginia, like that, after I got sentenced.
Yeah, I'm talking about the day you got sentenced, when your first day in. There's 2 days you remember, right?
Yeah, you already know. I'm not gonna lie, I was confused. I was kind of like spaced out because I couldn't really. It took me a while to wrap my mind around 2004 to 2014. Like, damn, I'm about to be going from two. So I used to count it on my hands, like, 6, damn, 10 joints. Like, that's a long time. I'm like, damn, I'm 27. Damn, I'm not getting out till I'm 37. Like, I'm missing my whole 30s. Like,
Oh, and with the correct me if I'm wrong, I don't mean to cut you off, but because it was the gun enhancement, you couldn't really get no time off for the drug program either, could you?
yeah, I couldn't get no time off for none of that.
For nothing.
And then I lost the rest of my 85% within the first year and a half. Within the first year and a half, I lost all that. So I was really supposed to come home in like 2012 in the summertime, but then I jacked all that off, and so I had to do everything day for day.
You had to do the whole 10. Then
Yeah.
you started. You're going on through this whole journey, as you say. This growth process, this journey, this transformation. When did you start getting into? So you started getting into the fitness, right? I mean, you was working out just because you was in prison, right?
I got into the fitness right away. So I was working out since before trial. So since in the county jail, I was working out, doing my pull-ups on the shower.
Okay, right. All right. So you was in jail. You was in county jail, waiting to go to trial.
Yeah. So after I went to trial from Valhalla. No, yeah, from Valhalla. And then after I got sentenced, they sent me to MDC.
Okay. Now I know it was probably therapeutic, just to working out in general, and you getting yourself into shape and you get addicted. When did you really start? Did you use it as like a mental escape, or like a self? It was self-defense also, right? I know that you got it, like, especially on the West Coast. I didn't do time on the West Coast, but I got a lot of homies. I imagine maybe it was like that on the East Coast too. When you get in there, you got to get into shape. You got to be battle hardened. So that's the self-defense aspect, right? But was it also a mental escape?
Yeah, still to this day it is. So when I work out, it's like I'm not here. That's why I can only work out with certain people, because I can feel your energy. So if your energy is not matching mine, I can't work out with you because I'm feeding off of you. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, you getting to feed off of me because I'm on go. You know what I'm saying? So if it don't match, right. If it don't match, I'd rather work out by myself and just get lost in my thoughts. Because the thoughts that I get lost in are building towards my future and the company's future and the program's. That's all I think about. So yeah, it's definitely an escape. If I feel overwhelmed, I go work out. If I can't figure it out and I need to figure something out, business-wise, corporate-wise, I go work out. That's what I do. I go work out, and usually it works.
So getting into your bid, when did you start taking it, like knowing that maybe you was gonna do this when you got out, for like a lifestyle and also to help others?
I didn't. I never knew until one day. I guess I was getting on T Black's nerves. Remember, I spoke about my mentor, Tyrone Hunter. Shout out to you, T Black, Tyrone Hunter. Yes. He called me in his cell one day, and he basically was like, "Listen here, you running around here wilding. I'm not going for it no more. You are bugging. Work out every day. Why don't you go outside and get paid to work out?" So I'm like, "Get paid to work out? What? I'm gonna work out. People gonna pay me to watch me work out?" So that's the way I was thinking, because I still couldn't see it,
Right. You got a little bit of time now. You were short at this point?
Yeah, at this point, it was like 2011. So I had like 3 more years left, and I had just got in trouble for another stabbing at Hazleton.
Okay. And that's why he kind of called you, he kind of counseled you, gave you some good advice.
Yeah, because I could have jacked my time off. Think about it, it's 2011. Only got 3 more years, and you running around here like wilding, doing stuff like that. Even though it was I was defending myself. Don't get me wrong, I was defending myself, but at the same time, like, he was trying to explain to me the same way I said to you with being outside, I wouldn't be in this situation. He's like, if you would focus on this, you wouldn't be in that. So this is what you're gonna do. He's like, you're gonna stop running around here stupid, and you're gonna come to my cell in the morning. First thing in the morning, you're gonna come to my cell. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So the nighttime goes, the morning comes, I go to his cell. When I go to his cell, this is there. That symbol right there behind me. It's drawn on a piece of paper. The word naturally cut fitness is written out. The word Rickey the cut creator Burton is written out. Like all that was done by him. So he was like, you're gonna go out. You always talking this natural shit, talking shit to everybody on the yard about nobody body look better than yours naturally, and this and this and that. He was like, so we're gonna call it naturally cut fitness, and you're gonna tell people your name is Rickey the Cut Creator Burton because you create cuts. You know what I mean? And he's giving me the pitch, and he's spilling it to me because he's a hell of an intellect and a scholar, right? So at first I'm denouncing it. I'm like, I'm not doing that stupid shit. What the hell are you talking about? Look who I am. You know who I am? And you think I'm going to tell people my name, Rickey the Cut Creator Burton, man? You are tripping. Tripping. So me and him got into like a big argument over that because he was like calling me all kind of knuckleheads and stupid and stuff like that. Him being the only person that could talk to me like that because I look at him as a big bro. So like after a while of him keep digging into me, digging into me with it, with the words, talking about it, explaining it to me, painting the picture for me. It took about 2 weeks before I like of him like doing more and more. Like he made me go take pictures on the yard, and he made me a portfolio with my pictures that I gotta give to people when I get out of prison, and which I did, which got me my first job at my first gym. But he did all that for me, so I'm like, damn, this must be like, let me try this.
He was passionate about it.
Yeah, I started in there telling people naturally cut fitness and having dudes call me the cut creator. I didn't really want them to say my name, so they wasn't allowed to call me Rickey the Cut Creator Burton, just the cut creator. Call me the cut creator, I'm cool with that. You know what I'm saying? And started from in there, and then it stuck. And then once I got out, hit the ground running. I'm not gonna lie, I hit the ground running, and the more I wore this proudly, the more I drowned myself inside of it, the naturally cut fitness movement and Rickey the Cut Creator Burton, the more it started to make sense. And the more started to gravitate towards it and towards me.
Because you totally embraced it and you started to really live that. So what would you tell dudes? What would you tell dudes that's it, whether it's going to be fitness or whether it's going to be music or whether it's going to be whatever it's going to be? If they in there now and they coming home soon, what advice would you give to them?
Well, the advice I'll give to them is train yourself to be able to weather the storm. A lot of people say other stuff, but I think everybody needs to train themselves to be able to weather the storm, because the storm is coming, and then after that storm goes another storm. And then after that storm comes another storm comes. That's how life goes. So the person who can weather the storm and keep moving forward or upward despite the storm is the strongest person in the world to me. And there are going to be a lot of storms when you first come out of prison, especially if you're a person that doesn't have the strong family support or the village that it takes for a person like us that did time and came home to be successful. So like, especially if you're that person, you need to train yourself to be resilient and to have that mental fortitude enough to enable you to be able to weather the storm. Weather the storm. You can weather the storm, you can win.
No doubt. No doubt. Sounds like you've been weathering the storm. So when you came home, wait a minute. You said how long did you tell? I thought you said you had. How long did you say you had this going for? Naturally, since you've been home since 14, right?
Yeah, I've been home since 2014. Yeah.
So 10 years?
July 10th, 2014. So this summer just made 10 years for me.
Okay. That's dope. All right.
That is dope. 10 years in, 10 years out.
So you came home. You've been building this for 10 years since you've been home.
So what it was is when I came home to the Federal Halfway House in New Jersey. So I went to the Federal Halfway House in New Jersey because I didn't want to come back to New York around the same people, places, and things. You know how they say change the people, places, and things will change for you, right? So I went to New Jersey. I don't know if you know this about New Jersey, but in New Jersey, the only Federal Halfway House is in Newark.
Okay.
So everybody, no matter what part of Jersey you're from, South, North, Central, if you coming home from a federal bit, that's the halfway house you going to.
Yo, is it a big ass halfway house? Sounds like
Not. It wasn't small. I'm not gonna say it was huge. I know they keep them beds, they keep them bodies rolling in because you know they people pay rent. You'll have like 3-4 people paying rent for the same bed.
crazy.
You know how they do that. They caking it in a halfway house. So I went there. I ended up using the same portfolio that T Black gave me to get my first job at a gym called a Fit Above Fitness Center. And what was ironic about that is when I came out, you know, you come to the halfway house, everybody has a counselor or whatever the case may be in the halfway house that's there to supposedly to help them and assist them. Yeah, that's bullshit anyway, but for the most part. So now I got the counselor telling me, oh, you got to put in applications to Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, Burger King. So I'm like, nah, I'm not doing it. I'm Rickey, the cut creator Burton. I don't serve burgers or none of that shit. I don't wipe nobody's table and I don't sweep or mop or none of that. None of that. You know what I mean? So they're like, well, you have a chance of getting sent back if you don't comply. So my thing was, that's how I knew all this was destined. I'm blessed because when he told me that, I got so upset, I wiped everything off his desk and told him, send me back then. Send me back then, right now. So you know what they did? They locked the halfway house down. Made everybody go back in their rooms. So I'm thinking what's about to happen is what I saw happen to other guys. Because when they do that, you go in your room, and then when you come out your room, the marshals are there and stuff like that. But they didn't do that for some reason. I told them I'm not putting in no applications to nowhere else but gyms. I'm a trainer. I'm a personal trainer. You know what I'm saying? So, long story short, for some reason he didn't call the people. You know what I mean? I come out that night. They tried to get me in trouble, but a week later I had a job.
Wow. At a gym?
Yeah, at a gym called right down the street from the halfway house called a Fit Above Fitness Center. And
that T Black got you the job there.
You're right. I remember that vividly because when they asked me for when it was a she, her name was Sandy. Shout out to Sandy too. She was the owner. A hell of a female, phenomenal, hell of an entrepreneur, super successful. So when she asked me for my resume, I gave her the thing T Black made for me with pictures in it and telling where I'm from in Brooklyn and what I done did, and that's how it was. So she's looking at it, and I could see her flipping through it, and she's like, "Man, I've never really been given anything like this on an interview. You know what I mean? I asked you for your resume, but this is like a resume, a bio, or 3-in-1. You know," she was like, "Actually, this is amazing, and I commend you for having the heart to even bring this in here and show it to me."
Wow.
She was like, because the average person wouldn't even have brought this in here to me. She was like, "I think it's amazing." She ended up taking pictures and stuff of it. You know what I mean? So she could show other people, and she hired me on the spot. I started the very next day, and I ended up being her lead trainer, her head trainer, all the way until they closed. They ended up closing like after a year because she had been doing it so long before I came out that she wanted to travel the world. She was a multimillionaire. So she wanted to travel the world and go to like monasteries in this country and stuff like that. So I ended up getting a job at another bigger gym in Jersey called Club Metro, which is a franchise. So I ended up working there for about another year. I was the #1 personal trainer there at their location in the region, and in Newark. So one day, one of my old cellies gave me a call. He had just got out, so he did 15 years. So he got out after me. I'm already out. I've been out 2 years now already. Now he just got out, so he gives me a call. He like, "Yo, I was in the Brooklyn halfway house, and these dudes came through, They're talking fitness, and they're talking trainers, and they're talking formerly incarcerated inmates. And I think you need to give them a call. I'm not doing fitness, but you sound like you. He remind me of you. So it ended up being Hector Guadalupe from a Second U Foundation. So a Second U Foundation is the fastest growing non-profit for formerly incarcerated inmates in New York right now. Right now, it's called a Second U Foundation. ASECONDU Foundation.
Spell it again.
The letter A, SECOND, the letter U, Foundation. Right? So I call Hector. So I'm thinking I'm doing big things in Jersey, right? So I call Hector and I'm like, yeah, my man name was Chopper, but his real name Mike Bloom. So I'm like, Mike told me to call you. He said we need to throw ideas back and forth, see where we can help each other. So he's like, yeah, what you got going on out there? So I'm like, yeah, I'm training. I got this amount of clients and this and this and that. So he's like, how much you charge your clients? So I'm like, $30 a session. He like, that's it? So I'm like, what you mean, man? I'm taking it. At least I thought I was, you know what I'm saying? He started laughing so hard at me. So I felt embarrassed at first. I felt embarrassed and disrespected. So now I'm looking at him like, man, who the fuck you laughing at, man? You know who I am? And he looking at it like, homie, calm down. Like, getting all hyped up for nothing. I'm just trying to show you the way. You know what I mean? So he like, man, come over here back to, he like, where you from? I'm like, Brooklyn. He like, man, you need to come back over to this side of town where the money at. He like, ain't no money over there. He like, man, we making $100, $150 a session over here. He like, and you throwing around $30. He like, how many people you gotta train? He's like, you gotta train 5 people to make the money. I gotta train 1 person
to make the same amount.
You're right. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna come see him. So I came over here, I saw him, we spoke. He took me out to eat, and he painted a picture for me of what I wanted for myself, you know? And he had only been home 2 years longer than me. 2 years longer than me. 2 years longer than me. And I was like, damn, if he got all this going on and he only been home this amount of time, maybe I need to like ride with him and see what he got for me. I'm not trying to ask for no fish, but I need somebody to teach me how to fish before I could catch my own, you know? And that's ultimately what he did. I went through a Second U Foundation, which is an organization that goes into the federal halfway houses and recruits, trains, and immediately employs formerly incarcerated inmates. So when I say immediately employs, I mean that if you finish the program on a Monday, you will be working Tuesday morning at a gym or a health club anywhere around New York City. That is a fact. So I went through a Second U Foundation, and I didn't have to because I was already certified. Everybody that goes through a Second U Foundation is going through to get certified and trained properly because they just came home and they don't know the ins and outs of training. They don't know how to conduct themselves. They don't know what to expect financially, anything. So I go through the program, which was one of the best things I could have did, as big-headed as I can be at times, right? Especially back then. And why I say that is because it gave me a different type of etiquette when it came to dealing with people that really have money, when it came to dealing with people of high character and high value and high principle. It gave me that. It taught me how to really prospect. I thought I was a hell of a salesman, but I realized that I wasn't until I went through that course on prospect. And I actually had to physically go through it. That was a huge benefit to me, to who I am now and what I've become as an entrepreneur, not just a trainer, as an entrepreneur, as a salesman, as a teacher, as a leader. So going through a Second U Foundation was so helpful, and then it was just on and up after that, because right now to this day, I'm either their most highly decorated graduate or one of their most highly decorated graduates, because it's a few of us, myself, Dion, Joel, Rohan. There's a couple of us that are very highly decorated. And when I say that, I mean like we done been on CNN, MSNBC, Pix 11, MSNBC Play, like Channel 12 News. We've been in newspaper articles. We've been featured in with Ferrety brand clothing lines, sponsored by Lululemon, Boombas, you name it. Recovery 180, the sports drink, you know, and stuff like that. But like going through a Second Youth Foundation was so beneficial for me, so beneficial for the journey and moving forward. If had I had skipped that step, I don't know if I'll be here as sharp as I am right now, or as you understand, as crisp as I am right now. I'll be more raw.
Right. I can dig it. Do you still work with a Second Youth Foundation, or is naturally cut fitness? Are you in New York? Are you outside of New York? What exactly is Naturally Cut Fitness doing now, as far as where do you see yourself in the next 5 years in Naturally Cut Fitness, and where do you see yourself taking it?
Well, right now, as far as Naturally Cut Fitness, it's basically running itself, right? It's running itself as far as the clients. So as far as expansion with Naturally Cut Fitness, I'm willing to expand inside of New York. Outside of New York, not so much yet, unless the opportunity is lucratively profitable.
Do you have freestanding gyms where Naturally Cut Fitness is, or is it you have other trainers that are, do you have multitude of trainers under the umbrella Natural?
Well, we did have our own brick and mortar gyms, but then once COVID came, we kind of like scaled back. So now we have a system in place where we have so many trainers under us that we can go to different health clubs and different smaller independent gyms and say, hey, I'm gonna bring this amount of traffic through your gym because your gym doesn't get this amount of traffic, because all of our trainers train 15, 20 clients at a time, all of them. So now I'm gonna bring this amount of traffic through your gym or your health club, but this is what you're gonna charge me, and I'm gonna keep it flooded. I'm gonna make sure I keep your gym flooded with trainers, clients, everything. And I could do that with a lot of different gyms. So that's the system we use now. And our focus right now is not on Naturally Cut Fitness, it's on the nonprofit, the Naturally Cut Experience. So, which is a nonprofit that I started during COVID. That's tailored to inner city kids, where, like I said, we give them the strength training, the skills training, the recovery, the same way Bronny James gets his with his father's trainer, and the same way Cayenne gets his with Melo's trainer. And you understand what I'm saying? These kids don't have the money to afford these type of luxuries, right? So now, if we're the top trainers in New York, because we are, and we're from New York, this is our way of giving back. This is our way of giving back. We're going to make sure all these kids are successful. We're going to make sure that we provide the path for them, and that it's clear. It's not just a path, it's clear. No fog on the path, no rain, no nothing. It's clear. It's a clear-cut pathway towards their success, or towards a space where they feel utterly successful, right? So now that's what the program is. And I said, come in 2005, we're adding financial literacy and life skills to the program, which is going to grow the program 2-3 times over, because right now we're already so huge. In the last 3 years, we put over 110 kids into universities all throughout the United States. And when I say universities, I mean like Kansas State, Texas, North Carolina, Kentucky, Arkansas, Syracuse, St. John's, LaSalle, Marquette, California, Santa Barbara. Like, you understand what I'm saying? And these are inner city kids that ultimately probably wouldn't be at these schools without the program. They'd be in the hood. They'd be in the hood, or they'd be home, like where Naquan Tomlin was when we found him. Now he's on the Cleveland Cavaliers 3 years later. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's just, that's my focus is on that, because it's things like that that end up having a lasting impact on communities, on cities, states, or for years to come. And they need fighters. The kids, our youth, they need fighters fighting for them. There are a lot of people fighting for them, but you're not a fighter. So you don't know how to weather the storm show these kids how to weather the storm, because you're not really a fighter, you're just fighting. It's a difference.
No doubt. Spoken from the words of a true warrior, brother. Yo, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate the motivation. I know you're motivating so many others because you motivate me. So I can only imagine what it's like for the youth and for people to really be able to work with you on a one-on-one basis and be able to just keep getting that real, teaching them how to really weather the storm the way, as you said, to weather the storm. I love that. In closing, I want to give you an opportunity to let people know where they can find you, let people know how they can touch you, how they can reach out to you. Obviously, if they're in New York, I know they can, but maybe people can find you and check in on you outside of New York with social media and everything. Give people an opportunity to tell them where they can find you, where they can check in on, Rickey, the cut creator, Burton.
Okay, we have numerous platforms where you can find us. We have our website, The Naturally Cut Experience. You can find us on Instagram, naturally_cut_fitness, or the athletic program, naturally_cut_experience. We have a LinkedIn page, Rickey Burton, Facebook page, Naturally Cut Fitness, or you could go to the Rickey Burton page. Everything is all business. We have a TikTok page. Naturally Cut Fitness has a TikTok page. You can see us on TikTok. You can Google Naturally Cut Fitness and see anything you want to see. You can Google Rickey the Cut Creator Burton and see anything you want to see pertaining to Naturally Cut Fitness, myself, or the Naturally Cut Experience. You can find out anything you want to know about anybody on my team, any one of my trainers, my vice president, anybody in the executive administrative branch of the nonprofit, anything. But you can ultimately find us on Instagram, naturally_cut_fit, or naturally_cut_experience. And we look forward to y'all reaching out. We look forward, because one thing we love to do at Naturally Cut Fitness and at the Naturally Cut Experience is we love saving lives.
No doubt, no doubt. Once again, we appreciate y'all so much for tuning in with us at In and Out Podcast. Today, you already know, you heard this brother, Rickey, the Cut Creator Burton. Naturally Cut Fitness, the brother is dope. He's teaching y'all so many things. Y'all got to make sure y'all reach out, touch this brother, learn from this brother. He's going to teach you how to weather the storm. He's talking about he told you about all of the different aspects that he's bringing, not just physical and mental training and fitness, but he's also bringing to you financial literacy and so much more. Make sure y'all check him out. And never forget to continue to tune in with us here at In and Out Podcast. That's INNOUTWW by Eric Gerald. When you go on, you got to give us a like, give us a comment, follow back. When you go to YouTube or anywhere else you find us on social media, make sure you hit that button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you want to keep checking in on us and me having these dope people on the podcast for you so you can get all of this good game from their experiences and their teachings, you got to make sure you subscribe. Hit that button every time. Like, comment, and follow back. Don't forget us. We appreciate you for tuning in. And now we're out. Peace.